get it to work on my computer.
There we go. Now we're going to give you a host. And then we're going to get out of the way. All right.
For my first day on Zoom.
It's not great. Thank you. Oh, do you have your screen share up? Do you need that? Hang on a second. Let's go here.
Let me see. Do you guys see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. Can I move my test bar here? All right. So I probably should not be doing this on a new computer. I had to download Zoom this morning because I'm on a new computer. So hopefully everything goes well. All right. So obviously I see Jeffrey and Candace. I'm sure that there's going to be a few more people that hop in. But I would love really quick just to kind of know where you guys are in real estate. So that way, as I'm kind of going through some of this, I know if you guys are like brand new, you've been in real estate, you're coming back, would love to kind of know where you guys are all at.
Candace, do you want to tell her a story or do you want me to?
I can tell it. Jeff and I are right on the same time frame, except I think he's gotten a little bit more done because I have still been working full time. But we were at orientation together in July, so both fairly new agents. I have not closed the deal yet. I have just stepped back from my job, so I'm not working full time anymore, and I'm trying to dive in and get some stuff done. So I was telling all the other instructors, like I've been, in the regular classes and stuff like that. But Ignite, I feel like it's been the best thing so far for me. I've been learning a lot. I haven't missed a session. I was late to one because I was on a phone call, and I left early for one because I had to go to work. But I've been here, and I've been learning a lot from you guys. It's been so nice to hear from other agents, hear your stories, hear your, what works for you. And yeah, it's been awesome. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
I guess I'm kind of lucky. I started right off on a team, so I've had a little bit more support than probably Candace has. I've got a couple people in pre-qualification right now, and I might have a couple listings coming up this fall. So
that's so exciting.
Hitting the ground running, but obviously here to learn and figure out how to do it a little bit better.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess someone else just joined, Dawn.
Yeah, Dawn.
Good morning.
Hi. I was just asking everybody kind of where you guys are at in real estate. So as I go through this, I kind of know how to be a little more applicable for all of you. So would love just a quick abridged version or a long story, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, I'll try to make it abridged. I've been licensed for 7 years, but I was a full-time caregiver for my disabled sister who passed away 2.5 months ago. I was doing real estate part-time while caring for my sister. And now I'm reeling from losing her and losing my daily routine of always taking care of her. So what I'm looking for from this is motivation, guidance, help with figuring out my day-to-day and how best to use my time and to get leads and whatever, because I do have buyers I'm working with, but I don't have anybody under contract right now. And yeah, I'm kind of feeling a crunch right now. I need more business, and I'm here for the ideas, for the tidbits that I can glean to make my real estate career more profitable.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, good stories. I mean, I'm very sorry about your sister. I can only imagine. So, but I'm glad you're here. Well, you've actually been in real estate longer than me then, for 7 years. So I'm going on my 5th year. So I'm sure I have stuff I could learn from you too.
Well, I was only part-time. So, I had also gone through a divorce, which is when I got into real estate. So, yeah, because I wanted to get into real estate when I was married, and my husband squashed that idea. And when I took the class after my divorce, I realized like I would not have been successful if I was still married to him, because he squashed a lot of ideas I had. And there's been a lot of growth and a lot of I've made some phenomenal friends now because I'm a realtor, because I've had to get out of my comfort zone and call them and talk to them. And it's been helping me on my journey. It's been awesome. So
Real estate's definitely something, if you've got the support, then that goes a very long way to be
Mhm.
able to actually be, enjoy it and have more success in it. Chelsea, I see that you just joined too. I was just asking everybody where they're at in real estate. So
I'm actually waiting for my license to go active. So, but I'm just taking classes until that happens.
hey, it's a smart time.
So
This is-
brand new, not even started yet.
Honestly, this is the perfect thing to do, I think. As I think, Candace, I think you were the one that maybe mentioned it. I remember when I first got my license, there's a lot. There's a lot. They kind of just throw you right in the fire, and it's great because you've got so many resources with Keller Williams. But to narrow down to what is really helpful in the beginning, I do feel that Ignite is just the perfect class to kind of give you a good overview. I don't think it's too overwhelming. I think it's easy enough to kind of give you some steps and pointers. And it's nice because you get to like kind of meet a lot of the different agents that teach it. And that way, if you, go to some actual Keller Williams events, you actually kind of know some people. So I know that there's all partners meeting today in Portsmouth. So I'll try to make sure I'm at least wrapped up in time for you guys all to get to that if you need. I guess just a little quick overview about me. I have been with Keller Williams going on 5 years now. I have really only been a serious real estate agent for probably about the past 4 years. I was an individual, just, tried to do it on my own for my first year, and that did not work for me. I needed the team structure. I needed accountability. I needed a lot of mentorship. I jumped into real estate having never even bought a house before. So I had a lot to learn. So in all of this too, if you guys have questions later on or you want to reach out to me, I'll give you my contact info at the end if you've just got some questions, because I know a lot of times, you have these small questions come up and you're like, well, this isn't a bother the broker question, but also I kind of need to know really quick how to find X, Y, and Z. Don't hesitate to reach out. So I also when I did finally join a team, that's kind of when I figure I'd started real estate. So even though I've had my license for 5 years, I've really been doing it for about 4. And that is really when my business kind of took off a little bit more. I did work part-time my first year. I worked part-time as a bank teller for a little bit. This was the height of COVID. So I'm talking like we were wearing masks in the drive-through and nobody was even coming in the building. Height of COVID. And I'm like, I don't know why we have to do this when there's bulletproof glass in front of us, but it works. It was a very hard job to have part-time as a real estate agent because you can't really sneak your phone under the teller counter to try to set up showings and everything else. But somehow we managed it. A year ago, my husband left his 9-to-5 job to join real estate full-time as well. So I know Tim mentioned Caleb. So he's actually out in the other room. Maybe he'll pop in later, but we do real estate together, which has been really great. It was kind of part of the 5-year plan. Oh, here. This is Caleb and this is Caden. Hi.
Hello. Good morning.
He looks a
Okay,
little
bye.
shell-shocked. So he's on babysitting duty at the moment. I guess not
Bye.
babysitting, it's parent. What are you doing? So,
We call it sitting in my house too.
yep. But so if you hear some squawking, that is the little one, or maybe it's my husband, I don't know. But we do real estate together, which has been really awesome. I think it's been really incredible to kind of see us, finally get to do that together. we haven't killed each other yet. We're together, you know, mostly out of our house. So anyway, I don't need to ramble too much. That's kind of our little background. We live in the Lakes region in New Hampshire, so we are about dead center in the state. We live in New Hampton, so we're right in between like Newfound Lake and Winnisquam, Winnipesaukee area. So you'll typically see us at any event at the Meredith office because that's where we hang our licenses, but we do go over to Portsmouth occasionally. So, but anyway, I will get into this. Let's see. So open houses, which is very exciting. Typically, I have been more of a buyer's agent in the past. This year, I'm about 50-50 with listings and buyers. So we have done a lot of open houses on both ends, open houses from our own personal listings that we have, as well as I've hosted open houses for other agents, which is probably where a lot of you guys would end up doing your first set of open houses. If any of you have any of you hosted an open house or been a part of that yet?
Yeah.
Jeff?
I have not.
I have.
Hello.
Perfect. So, would you say you guys had like a good open house experience? Did you guys have bad ones? Like, did nobody show up? Or were, there opportunities
Yeah.
there? Like, what was your?
I've done 3 and they've all been different. One was awesome. We had like 30 people come through. It was a Saturday in Dover. I had a goose egg at one just this past weekend up in Wakefield. So that was an interesting experience. I got a lot of work done. And then I had one where we had, 2 or 3 couples come through. But one of them ended up putting an offer in. So all kind of different experiences for me.
Awesome. And Dawn, I think you said you've done an open house?
Yeah, I've done some open houses, and I went to one, and I was helping a friend who had come into real estate with me, and she did an open house. We had no open house signs or anything. Nobody showed up. So, but I've also been to open houses, hosted open houses where there's almost too many people to be able to talk to. So, but trying to capture their information on the sign-in sheets, a lot of people don't write legibly, or, they write down the wrong information. So you try to follow up and just send them a thank you email for coming, and you get bounce back messages in your email from incorrect information.
Yes, that is actually probably something I was going to touch on at some point, which a lot of people kind of have different ways that they try to capture information. Nothing's going to be perfect, because like you said, if you have a super busy open house, even trying to make sure that every group writes something down is almost impossible. But yeah, and Jeff, it sounds like you've kind of had almost like the 3 different styles of open house. I almost categorize them as you have nobody, you have a good amount of people, and then you have too many people.
Yep. Yeah, literally.
And a lot of that you kind of have this feeling of, and sometimes you look at that as you think, oh, it was a success because we had a lot of people, or it was not a success because we had nobody. But like you mentioned, you can have just one person come through and that be the person that writes the offer, and it was a success.
Only takes one.
It really does. All right. Okay, so my slides are moving. Cool. I usually can flow through these things kind of quick. So if that happens, you guys just feel free to ask me any questions you guys have. I love to have the discussions along the way. And especially to make things practical for you, because I do feel like, especially those of you that are kind of like newer and just getting started, this is going to be a really great opportunity, a free way for you to get leads without having to like call a ton of people or door knock. Although we'll kind of get through it, that it's good to invite some people to the open house like Tim was saying, but this is a really good way to just kind of get your foot in the door and get things going. So at the end of it, I really hope that if you guys haven't done an open house, or you're just trying to find some new ways to get to capture these leads and then just work better as an agent, then I would love for that to be the case. I don't want this just to be me talking, and actually want you guys to be able to take something practical from it too. All right. There's your Ignite workbook. Okay, so we're gonna talk about capturing leads with open houses, and then we'll talk more about best practices, how to prepare, prospect, pursue, and more about your daily success system. Nothing else about your business will have as big an impact on it as the number of leads you have. Okay, so we're gonna dispel some limiting beliefs here. I don't have a listing to hold an open house. Obviously, we kind of already touched on this, and I'm sure if you guys are part of the Facebook page, the Keller Williams Facebook page, you'll see people constantly asking for help with open houses. And it's sometimes agents have so many listings that they can't do all of them themselves. Some agents, their time is better leveraged working elsewhere, and so they always have someone else host. Also, especially if you've got a listing that is a very large house, or in an association like a condo that has a lot of amenities, I find it's really helpful to have more than one person. Also, safety. We'll be touching on that a little later as well. So a lot of times with open houses, you might have more than one person there. So even if someone else has a listing, it's good to partner with people that way. I don't have signs yet. I know, Dawn, you mentioned not having open house signs at one of the listings. I would say if you are going to volunteer to do an open house for another agent, any agent that's asking you to do an open house, they should be able to provide all that for you. Now, I do think it's helpful if you have your own, but if you are going to volunteer to help somebody, that agent should be providing everything for you.
Well,
If they
I have
don't,
signs now. I have signs now, but she literally took a piece of Tyvek, wrote open house with a Sharpie, and put it on the back window of her Suburban to let people know that's where the open house was. It was like a redneck kind of open house. It was in a mobile home park, so
yeah.
maybe it
Know your
was
audience.
territory.
I have never heard of that one. I've heard of some creative
you-
ways, some cardboard, signs like leaning up against the house. I've not heard of it on a car. So
On Tyvek, written on
Yes.
Tyvek. So, well, hey, we were new and making do with what we had available at that time.
Yep. Yep. Oh my goodness, that's interesting. Now, if I ever have to teach this class again, I'm going to have to use that. I'm going to be like, yep, I've heard of people putting Tyvek on the back of their Suburbans.
And writing open house when Sharpie. And unfortunately, it was a pink Sharpie, so it really didn't show up well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's hilarious. I mean, I'm sorry you didn't have anybody for it, but you hear some new stuff all the time.
Yep.
If you don't have open house signs, you can buy them in Lowe's for about $5 a piece for the bigger ones or the ones with the arrows. You can also go on Amazon, buy like a 5-pack, which I just recommend because they can kind of break. Obviously, yes, you can go get, your own printed ones, branded, and that's probably a good idea. But again, just starting simple with something is great. I like having my own because they get chewed up by snowplows, they get lost, they break, like I said. So just having a bunch on hand is always really worth it. I like especially having a big open house sign that you can put in front of the, unit, house, whatever, and then other signs that have arrows that you can put out further to kind of direct people. I think we'll talk a little more about that. But just to continue with these limiting beliefs, all I'd say, if you don't have signs, totally fine. You can still host an open house, and whatever agent is asking for you to help host an open should have signs for you. And let's say it's your listing and you don't have signs. Like I said, you can literally go to Lowe's and grab something, Home Depot. It's in the same section as like the garage sale signs, as the I think it's like all the mailbox numbers and there. Let's see. Other limiting beliefs. I may not know the answers to questions visitors have. Totally okay. Open houses don't really work because most people look online, which is interesting because a lot of people will actually, more people find out about the open houses now because of them properties being online. A lot of buyers will go on Zillow, Realtor.com. They'll see that the open house is advertised and not even tell their agent that they're going to the open house. Or they don't even have an agent yet and they see open houses and they only plan their day around that. So actually, the fact that we have everything at on our fingertips is, I think, been really incredible for open houses. And I won't feel safe. We will talk more about the safety thing later, because I kind of want to lump that all together when we get to that point. So open houses, who benefits? So sellers, buyers, neighbors, and you as the agent. So obviously the sellers benefit by having an open house, because they can get a bunch of buyers into their property at once, which is where I also will add you as an agent in there. Especially if you've got a house that has a lot of interest and activity, getting a lot of people in at once is very helpful for you to not have to keep going back and forth. It gives the sellers a very specific time that they can have the house extra nice. If they've got pets, they can make sure the pets are gone. Families, sometimes it's, I have to remember that sellers, this is their house. Like, I don't know if any of you have sold your own property before. It's very vulnerable to have people
Yep.
come through your house when they're looking and critiquing. A buyer's going to find every little thing. If cabinet door squeaks, if one of those, bifold doors doesn't close all the way, if there's a transition in the floor that's messed up, the buyers will notice and point it out. So as a seller, to be able to have an open house where okay, I'm going to have a ton of people come through at once. They don't have to get their house ready that many times all in the beginning it is nice for them to be able to do. And an open house is going to be advertised way in advance. So the sellers actually have a good amount of time to make sure everything is set up the way that they really would like. A lot of times with, as you guys probably are very well aware, buyers will ask very last minute to see properties and ask for showings. And in this day and age you're scrambling just to get contracts written for these buyers and explain these documents. And with Keller Williams, I believe there is 6 documents total you need to have signed by a buyer to take them in to see a property. So having an open house gives a lot more time to be able to prepare. Benefits buyers, like I kind of touched on earlier, it gives them a whole window of time. I would say on average, I see open houses are typically about 2 hours. Some people have been doing shorter open houses. Some people do longer ones. But on average, I see about 2 hours. Works well for buyers, especially if they're like in the area and they don't know exactly when they're going to get off whatever they're doing. Or maybe they're traveling. And especially if you've got people traveling from Massachusetts, I find they are either 30 minutes early or 30 minutes late. And it all has to do with traffic. And you just really never know. So open house is nice. They don't have to feel rushed to be able to get to where they're going. And an additional benefit to you as an agent is you can get some good buyer leads that way. You can have some unrepresented buyers that either may put an offer in on that property or maybe they'll be looking elsewhere. And usually if you're hosting an open house and someone comes to that, those buyers are typically looking in that area or radius. So unlike when you have referral partners that hear that you're licensed in New Hampshire and then they send you a lead for Keene or, you know, Pittsburgh, and you're like, well, it's great, but that's 2.5 hours away from me. Hosting an open house typically means the buyers are going to be looking in your radius. So benefits of an open house, they're inexpensive. So when you're talking about lead sources, you typically, you know, if you're wanting to do print marketing, if you're doing photography, you know, a lot of these things can be a lot more expensive ways to market yourself. But open house, you typically don't really have any expenses unless you want to be providing like food or snacks or those water, those types of things. It's a great prospecting tool. You get a high return on investment and you get qualified leads. If you guys use any other kind of lead sources, such as like paid lead sources, a lot of times like through Zillow, Realtor.com, you'll get a lot of leads of people that are just calling about land lots or people that just see a cheaper property and don't realize the amount of work that needs to be done on it. A lot of these leads are not very well qualified, or people think that they can afford more house than they can. The people that are going to open houses most of the time know exactly what they're looking for. And if they aren't, it's not really any waste of your time, unlike other buyer leads that you might be trying to get them into properties and showings and track them down. But with an open house, you were going to be there anyways. So just a great way to meet people. And maybe, you know, even if the leads aren't well qualified at the moment when they come through, you can add them in on your like cold or warm lead list and keep up with them. All right. Okay. So open houses, your best practices. We're going to set goals. So we're going to be purposeful, not just entrepreneurial. Pick the house. Think about your market numbers. Prepare and practice. Consider inviting a speaker, such as an inspector or a lender. There are, I would say, definitely a couple different categories when it comes to open houses. You're going to have some open houses where you're going to have a lot more first-time home buyers, and then you're going to have some of those more luxury listing properties. You've probably seen a few different ones when people post about them. You'll see people posting that they're going to have, you know, I've seen like lobster rolls and wine and cheese at some open houses. And those are going to be typically more of your high dollar listing luxury properties. Not to say you don't do that on your other listings, but might get a little expensive. So with some of these as well, when they talk about inviting a speaker or like a lender or someone else, the nice way to be able to kind of have even fewer expenses is if you invite a lender to an open house. I don't know if any of you have ever done that or considered it. But similar to how when we have like our all partners meetings, a lot of times Movement Mortgage will sponsor and they'll provide the food. If you connect with a lender to work an open house and they come with you, a lot of times the lender might be the one that provides the snacks, the waters. Also falls really well into the safety category. If you were just going to go work an open house by yourself and you don't have another agent to come with you, if you invite a lender, now you have another person. You've got another accountability partner and just a better way to keep you safe. So, all right, pick the time and theme. I think picking a date and a time are very important when it comes to open houses. Just to kind of keep the conversation going. I I'm curious. I know particularly Dawn and Jeff, and you guys were talking about your open houses. I don't know. Have you guys worked any open houses that were not on the weekend? Did you guys work anything like Fridays, midday, any of those?
Yeah, did a Friday evening open house. And it was what I had several people come in for the Friday evening one.
Awesome. Jeffrey?
Yeah, I've done a Friday. I want to start trying to push some of our people to do like a Wednesday, like evening, because I know when my wife and I were buying, I remember going into some of those open houses and they were just packed, like people coming after from like picking up kids from soccer and school and everything. So those are all, I don't know. I've been to and done multiple different ones.
Yeah, I think, and that's a really good reminder. A lot of times I think we think that the weekend open houses are the only times to do it. And I do find that a lot of times that's maybe your best first option if you can. However, like you mentioned, they think they call them commuter open houses, like
Yep.
they're good hours for, like you said, coming back and picking up kids from school, or like the 5 to 7s in the evenings after work. I mean, some people, a lot of people work 9 to 5, not everybody, but then there's people that work on the weekends, and those people now can't go to the open houses. So I do think it's smart if you can, when there's a new listing, to be able to do at least 2 different open house times. Like, yeah, give a weekend option, but also do like a commuter open house time that can also help with all the other folks. Because you really don't know what other people are doing. And especially in our area too. Now in the summertime, I find that we have a quite an influx of people up here from out of staters. However, a lot of people that are currently in the state might be traveling on the weekends, so they might not be able to go to the weekend open house. Or if they're the ones with kids, they might actually have soccer games, dance recitals, other things that they're going to that just does not work for them to be able to do on the weekend. So time and theme, I think, are very important. And prepare your stats to know your market. I think so. If it's your own listing, usually if you've had to do the MLS input, you pretty well know the house. But if you're going to be hosting an open house for somebody, I would say that this is a really important part of your prep. Maybe some of the most important. And if I ever have somebody host an open house for one of my listings, I always make sure that they are well versed on the house. How many of you have actually gone to an open house, whether you were just, buyer interested in looky-loo, and the person hosting the open house knew nothing about the property? Like, you asked them some basic info and you're like,
Oh,
why are you even hosting this if you don't even know if this is on a well or public water?
yeah,
Yep.
not good.
No, it does not instill confidence. And as a matter of fact, I would be pretty upset if I had somebody host one of my properties and they didn't prepare anything for it. I do think that kind of falls under and I don't know why you would even go and bother host an open house if you're not going to at least do the basic. You can do your 5 minutes of prep and then, going deeper. So preparing stats for the open house, typically you're going to print off a bunch of the listing packets, have those available, or the listing agent might do that for you. But I think it's important to have a cheat sheet for yourself. A lot of times at open houses, you really have no idea how many people are going to come. Sometimes you have listing packets that sit there and collect dust and you feel sorry for the tree that you killed for nothing. But other times the packets disappear in the first 10 to 15 minutes. I think it's important to always have one just for you. That way you can always refer back if someone asks you a question. And if people come through, and even if you don't have more packets to be able to give them, you can hold yours out, point to things, show them where to find stuff. Because, you're going to have a lot of different properties that you're going through. So I do understand you're not going to remember everything off the top of your head right away. But having that with you, I think, is very important. Obviously, a lot of the questions that people ask are going to be septic and well questions, like where are they located, what types of systems. People ask a lot about the ages of heat, like the boiler, the hot water heaters, the roof. A lot of times, there's also questions that buyers ask a lot that are not going to be part of the listing. So if you're hosting for somebody else, I think a couple of the good questions to ask, if they're able to give them to you and it's relevant, would be, a lot of times they'll ask, so why are the sellers moving? It's not something that you necessarily owe the potential buyers, but the reason I think that a lot of buyers ask that question is they get concerned. If a seller just bought this property a year ago and now they're selling, they're like, what's wrong with it? So if you can dispel some of those fears, if the reasoning is, good enough, I think that's a good question to ask. Especially if you say, oh, well, they ended up moving closer to family out of state, so that's why they're selling. Something like that is typically good. If someone's divorcing, sometimes that's not the best, maybe reason to tell potential buyers, because they can read into that a little bit as, they're kind of desperate and they need to sell, and they'll probably sell for lower than the listing price. So I think it's a good question to ask if it's something that is relevant enough, and that's not a stat that you're going to find just on the MLS.
A couple easy ones are always downsizing or upsizing. You can kind of always, no, they want a bigger house. No, they want a smaller house.
Exactly. And that's why I find that if the reasoning is good, that really helps just dispel any issues that questions buyers may have. Because, buyers are always going to come in looking for what's the deal, like what kind of deal can they get out of it. So if I can make sure that they don't think that the seller is completely desperate, then that at least it's not going to be that much of an issue. All right. So this slide's a little bigger, and I think it's a good point to kind of touch on. Safety at an open house. So I know that there's a lot of talk with just safety in real estate in general, and I think open houses is a big part of it. I remember I even sometimes in real estate I like to post on social media when I have been somewhere or when I've done something, not what I'm going to go do a lot of times, just because you have that extra safety precaution. If people always know where I am at every given moment and what my plans are, I don't know. There's just something to that. Unfortunately, with open houses, you can't really get around that, because you need to be advertising this. You need to let people know, and they can plan in advance. So you can't get around the fact that people are going to know way in advance that you're going to be there. So what kind of safety precautions can you take while you're at open houses? So using the buddy system, talked a little bit about having possibly a lender or another partner come with you. Of course, the sun is coming in this window. It's like very bright. Sorry about that. But having someone else be there with you at an open house is a great way to be safe, and also, makes it not as lonely too. Arriving early, things that are important, which I'm gonna end up mentioning some of these already, is, when you get there early, you get to choose where you're parking. You get to park in a way that you can get out. You don't want to park where you're going to get blocked in should you ever have to leave. And also helps to be able to, keep, I think, like the driveway open for anyone else that needs to be, if it's a smaller driveway, to let the potential buyers be able to park and come through. And when you arrive early, you get to unlock all the doors and make sure the doors were locked when you got there, especially if a property is supposed to be empty. If you arrive and a door is already unlocked, then I would be very cautious about just entering, because you just unfortunately never know. And that gives you just the opportunity to get the lay of the land. And this, I think, it's important on all fronts, but especially if it's a property you haven't been to. If it's someone else's listing and you're just not as familiar with the house, this is a time for you to be able to figure out, okay, where are all the doors? Also a good time to think, okay, where are the buyers going to enter the house? Now, a lot of times sellers, I would say, if a property has a garage, a seller is almost always parking their car in the garage and walking through that door. They don't think about the fact that, your quintessential New England front door that never gets used is the one that what a lot of buyers might actually be trying to walk through. Sometimes you're going to have like a door in between. So this is a good time to figure out, where are all those entrances? Do all these doors actually open well? Which door are all of the buyers and agents actually going to be using during this open house? Do you want to make sure that they walk through those doors? I think if you can, it's smart to try to keep some of the other doors locked or closed, and make it very obvious which door you want people to enter through. That way you're able to greet everybody that comes through. You're able to make sure that they see you, they see the sign-in sheet, they see the listing packets, the waters, the business cards. So they've got a very obvious, this is the starting point of the open house. People are going to walk through the property. They're going to leave through different doors. Things are going to get unlocked. It's going to happen. But I think it's a good time mid open house to be able to walk around and check things again. I like to be able to try to kind of manage that. Also, safety wise, that just kind of helps you from not being surprised by someone else showing up that you didn't see at the house, coming in like a back door that you just weren't aware of. So I think another good reason to get there early. Make sure your cell phone's fully charged. We struggle a little bit in this state. And I say this state because I'm in New Hampshire, but I know some of you guys might actually be dual licensed, especially in Maine, but I don't think Maine's any better. We don't always have great cell reception. So it is not on this list, but I would recommend, if a house is occupied and they have Wi-Fi, I would ask for that Wi-Fi password way in advance. So that way, especially if you don't have cell phone service, that you can get your phone connected to Wi-Fi and you can at least do Wi-Fi calling or texting. Just another safe way. Obviously, you can reach 911 at any point, but there's a lot of times where you might, have a mid-range safety concern that you're not going to just call the police for, but maybe you want to be able to reach out to somebody else or talk with another agent. So I think it's important, if you know you're not going to have good cell reception, get connected to the Wi-Fi if you can. Turn on all the lights, and this says check your local COVID guidelines. Hopefully we don't really have many of those right now, and that we won't have to have that again. And follow your market center guidelines and checklists for open houses. All right. So here's your aha slide. Would love to, if any of you guys have any ahas or maybe a little something you learned at an open house, would love to hear that. Real quick while
I'll throw something out, like something it's just something I instinctively was going to do, but they also taught, I took bold as well. And we learned that in there, like, sign people in yourself, like, don't let them sign in, because to your point, they're never going to sign it legibly. And then if they say they have an agent, ask, oh, great, like, who's your agent? Like, I'll put them down too, so I follow up. So that way, if they're just kind of saying, oh, I have an agent, like, who? They're like, I don't know, Tim. They probably don't have an agent, and you can probably contact them.
That's a really good idea. So you're saying that you sign them in when they walk in, so that way it's in your handwriting and you actually know.
100%. Yeah, it's like, hey, do you mind if I sign you guys in? I just, email, phone if you're comfortable. And if you're working with an agent, and if so, who is it? And they'll just go blah, 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 and just write it down.
That's awesome. Actually, I I've not thought about doing that. That's a really, really good idea because there's always somebody that I can't seem to get a hold of because I cannot read their handwriting. So that's honestly a really great idea.
Yeah, and then like that way you can just scan it. I then use I use a computer program. It scans and it goes right into my database.
Awesome. What program do you use to put it scan it on your table?
I just honestly I use ChatGPT. I say please take a picture, put this into a spreadsheet, and upload it into X, and it just goes off into the cloud, and I deal with it later.
That's awesome. I was going to show you what my sign-in sheets look like, and I think, see, I come in and teach these things, and I learn something new each time too. So this is incredible. I being able to have these conversations. So you're giving me some good ideas to be able to do in my sheets. I've only kind of just started dabbling with Chat GPT, probably within the last like 6 months or so. So I love it, and that's an incredible way to use it.
Yeah. This is sidebar, but if you ever get a chance, the tech person, I forget her name. I think it's Maggie McDowell. Like you should book some time with her. She's rocks. Like she'll teach you how to integrate other AI stuff. But again, that's for another day.
Yeah, awesome. I need all the help I can get with my lead source and database management because honestly, when I host my own open houses, the leads that I probably lose the fastest are the ones that just come unrepresented at open houses. Just because I've got so much else going on, and when it's my own listing, I'm first and foremost and working for my seller. So when these buyers come through, I really try to capture them. But if you don't get that second meeting with them, then a lot of times you just kind of go into the ether and you're so busy that you don't really remember all the people that came through. And sometimes you're lucky if you can remember which name went to which person, which is a great answer to that problem that I have sometimes when you were mentioning you're the one that stands there and signs them up. So I'm sure that would help me actually remember people better, who's who and names and everything. So thank you for that.
No worries.
All right. The difference between big and really big is how you manage your time and focus. All right, so we're going to go through preparing, prospecting, and pursuing. So I briefly went through these slides before I went, I went through these a couple days ago. I knew I was going to be teaching. And going along with just the you're always learning mindset, this was a good reminder to me that I don't even think I prepare for my open houses as well as I should be. What Tim was talking about, at the top of this meeting is all very important, and I think it's very easy to kind of skip that prep process. And I'm not just talking about prep as in learning about the property, getting your open house signs in the car and printing off open house sign-in sheets, but really doing the marketing ahead of time, doing the reaching out to neighbors, following up with even buyers in your own pool that might be interested, or reaching out to other agents in our brokerage and surrounding that, if they've got buyers, definitely send them, and just preparing ahead of time to have a successful open house, because you don't want your time wasted. I mean, you're going to be sitting at an open house probably 2 hours. You're going to get there early. I personally think you should be getting to an open house minimum 30 minutes early. As a matter of fact, probably longer, because you want to be up, ready, running like 10 to 15 minutes early. So that means opening doors, unlocking, or turning on lights, being familiar with the house, setting up your table or tables, depending on what you have for packets, food, water, parking, putting your signs out. If you're going to be doing directional arrows, like helping lead to the open house, that takes some time to be able to go and put all those up and then come back. And don't get me started on balloons. I don't understand. There are some agents that absolutely love setting up balloons. They are the bane of my existence. I have done it. I do everything I can to avoid it, but if I have a seller that specifically requests balloons, I'll do it. I hate it. If one of you guys does balloons and you've got a better system, please let me know. But every time I need to go put up balloons, the helium is like leaking out of the balloons and they get knotted up in the back of my car. And it is just me versus Mother Nature trying to get these things attached to signs. And then I finally get into the house ready to go. And I'm either dripping sweat in the middle of summer after trying to get these balloons out there, or I am like, my fingers are frozen from the middle of the winter trying to put these balloons out in the sign. And I just guess it gets people's attention, but
Put a big trash bag over them.
Yes.
Seriously, it'll keep them from moving around in the back of your car.
How do you get them in the trash bag? I can't
You
even get them in
just
the
put it over it.
car.
Yeah.
Do you like go to like Party City to get them done, or do you have like a helium tank that you do at your house?
I don't, this is just, I've had so many birthday parties for my kids with balloons. Like I just usually, yeah, you just ask them to put them in a bag and then they just put them in a bag and there you go. Bob's your uncle, cut the bag, let him free.
I guess I'll have to do that next time then. I don't know. I will do, and if I cut corners on anything, it's the balloons. I don't know. And maybe my car is too small. I don't have a giant car yet. I only have one kid. Minivan's probably on kid number 2. So, but anyway, I don't know how I got onto balloons with this. But anyway, preparing ahead of time. All right. So this is a schedule that they have set for if you're going to probably do an open house on a Saturday, I guess, but you could backtrack these depending on when you actually host an open house. So Monday, obviously decide what house you're going to be working for. Tuesday, posting online, walk the neighborhood, invite neighbors to showings. I personally don't feel that safe going and just knocking on people's doors, even though I love my neighbors in the neighborhood. I would be very probably selective on when I would do that. If anyone else has other ideas, I'd love to hear them. I think some of the best ways to actually reach out to all the neighbors with an open house is finding local Facebook groups. So if you're going to be hosting an open house in Dover, find the Dover page, or, you know, for me in my Lakes region area, a lot of the towns and cities, each one will kind of have a different Facebook group. You should be a part of all of these anyways. Any Facebook groups that, you know, local yard sale for, you know, Portsmouth area, or, you know, residents wherever, you should be a part of all of these Facebook groups because people are constantly asking for things, and just being a part of your community. I think these groups are a perfect place to be posting about the open house and inviting neighbors, saying we'd love to see you, love to meet you, come on by. And like I said, the great thing about an open house is there's, you know, it's not a waste of your time if these people are not ready to buy or sell yet. Because the other good thing too, especially with neighbors, if they come through, yeah, they might not be interested in buying the house, but they're probably looking and saying, "Ha, these people are listed at this price. I wonder what my house 2 doors down will go for." You're going to have those conversations all the time too. So if you can get the neighborhood to really come out and see the open house, I think it's a great, great opportunity. Wednesday, post online again and install the yard sign. I guess that would be if it's a new listing. I would not put an open house sign out until you are actually truly open. So I would assume that they mean install your listing sign. Thursday, post online again and invite your database. Friday, post online again, prepare market statistics, print flyers, and door knock. Again, I guess you can door knock at your safety level of what you'd like. But one of the themes you'll probably see in this, though, is that you're posting online every single day. So making sure that you have this up. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm ever going to an event, it's usually because I've seen it advertised more than once. If you see like a little local thing advertised one time, a lot of times you'll see it and go, oh, that'd be great. And that's kind of where it ends. When you see it the second time, you're like, oh, yeah, I did see something about this. I would be interested. And by the third time, you actually put it in your calendar and remember, okay, I'm actually planning to go to, this event or X, Y, and Z. If you don't see something posted much or at all, a lot of people wonder, is this really happening? Is this event still on? A lot of people that might be on the fence about going just might not even, remember that it's happening. People have lives outside of real estate and open houses, and I think that's something we need to remember a lot of times, or at least I need to. I'm used to working in real estate full time. I'm always thinking about, listings, properties, open houses, my buyers, but buyers and sellers, a lot of times they're just living their lives and then they remember, oh yeah, I want to go see this open house. So giving them ways to actually remember that they're happening is very important. Right, what clients like to know? Community and neighborhood information, relocation, first-time homebuyer specifics, and mortgage info. So community and neighborhood information, a lot of different your ways you can do your comps and everything. MLS sheets, a lot of these things we're gonna give you that info. Some things you got to be a little careful about, obviously, is talking about like, school districts and things. Totally fine to say, yep, this house is in this school district. But then a lot of people will say, oh, well, how is it? How's the district? How's the crime? And you've got to be very careful about how you answer those questions, just so that you are staying compliant. A lot of times if people ask about those things, if people ask about crime in the neighborhood, just say, go talk with the local police department. They can give you all the statistics. People ask about the school districts. You can't tell them. You can't say like, oh yeah, this is a good district or it's not, or this is safe, it's not. You just have to give them the facts. It's in this school district. Here's the website for it. Here's a contact for it. And those kinds of answers. When it comes to first-time home buyer and mortgage information, really good to have list of local lenders. Maybe have a small stack of lender business cards to give along with anybody that might be interested in submitting an offer if they don't have a lender. Good way to kind of get them approved and also get them approved with a local lender, someone that you like and trust. Okay. I believe this preparing for an open house checklist is in your student workbook. I'm not going to read every single little thing on here, but they give you good options for, I see balloons on there. Oh my goodness. Whatever. Yeah, I guess if it gets you the buyer or the under contract, it's worth it. I can see things such as role playing, printing flyers, marking on a map, things. I think a map is really great if you are going to be hosting an open house in a condo association. I don't know if there's a whole section on here that differentiates between single family homes and condos. So I'll touch on that a little bit. So we actually, kind of on accident, ended up becoming kind of the go-to agent for a condo association in our area here on Newfound Lake. We ended up getting one listing there, and I think the condo association was mismarketed for many years, and our clients wanted to list, arguably they wanted to list higher than what we recommended, and so we did it, and we got offers that were over asking. So we were a bit surprised. This does not always happen, mind you, but because of that, we sold a 2-bedroom condo that does have lake access, but it's across the street. But we sold a 2-bedroom condo for 710. And that is insanely high for our area. And after that went under contract, I think we got calls from 5 different people in the association that wanted us to go take a look at their properties and give them comps. And we since then have 2 other listings in the association. One is under contract and one is active right now. And then we do have one other kind of exclusive with Keller Williams there. They don't have it live on the market, but just kind of a word of mouth with the brokerage. So all to say, a condo association is an incredible way to work open houses and get listings and leads. Because when we talk about running an open house, a lot of times you think about just buyers, but with these open houses, so we did an open house for this condo listing, and I did get a dozen balloons because they specifically asked for balloons. And I get it. With a condo association, you're coming into the association and all of the buildings typically look the same. So really trying to set up signs and differentiate where to go, where to park, which unit you're going to. That is, I think, very important to be able to help direct people to the right spot. Especially with associations, you're going to probably be limited on parking. A lot of associations don't even let you put out a listing sign. So that gets very challenging to really tell people, hey, we've got an open house. To be honest, I don't ask permission to put out the open house signs. I just do that at an association. Maybe you should, maybe don't take my advice. I guess this is being recorded. So if an association has a rule that you can't put out a listing sign, I understand that. But for an open house, it's going to be 2 hours. So I just stick that sign in the ground. I make sure I have a big one right outside the unit. And I have a big one outside the association. And then maybe some directional arrows. And I just, go and collect those afterwards. If someone's going to complain, it's going to take at least 2 hours for it to get back to me, right? So,
Some condo associations allow you to put out the open house signs because it's temporary, it's only a couple hours. And a lot of them don't allow you to put your sign in the front yard that you're selling, but you can put a sign in the window. So
yes.
so that helps identify the property too for any potential buyers.
Yes, that is actually a really good point about being able to sometimes put the sign in the window too. I did not think about mentioning that, so thank you. Yeah, so being able to get all that out ahead of time. And also on the mention of associations. I should have asked you guys in the beginning, like, what area are you guys all servicing? Are you guys all closer to the Portsmouth office, or some of you in different areas?
I'm licensed in Maine. I'm going to be getting New Hampshire, but right now I'm just Maine.
Awesome. Like York County area?
I live in Kittery, yeah.
Kittery, okay.
I'm in Dover, but I kind of go all over. I have people who live down off like 111. I have people up in like Alton and Guilford. And I have people who are even out up in like Claremont. So like I'm kind of all over the place right now, but hopefully to dial that in at some point so I don't have to do so much traveling.
Yeah, Claremont's far from me, so that's even
Yeah,
far for you.
my previous job, like it took me all over the state. So I used to drive 50,000 miles a year, no problem. So it's just kind of normal for me.
Mhm.
Portsmouth, but I live in Rochester, so probably anywhere in between.
Awesome.
I do most anything in Rockingham County. I live right on the Mass border. I need to get my Mass license, but yeah, soon. I don't want to take the test. The tests are crazy.
Yes, I would probably be dual licensed if I wasn't in the dead center of the state. So I think it's an hour 15 for me, any of the 3 borders, Maine, Massachusetts, or Vermont. So I just haven't, to me, it doesn't really make sense at the moment. But yeah, I know I would dread having to go and take that again. Just the studying and doing all the testing, but it is helpful being dual licensed. You get a lot more business that way. But yeah, so most of you are probably going to be over in that area. So you guys are going to have a lot of different kinds of condo associations. I think particularly if you're going to work in a condo association, that's going to be more on the luxury side, especially one that is going to have a lot of amenities. If there's a clubhouse that's got like a big gym, a pool, or you've got beach access or lake access, if you're going to do an open house, I think it is very good to have another person there, because you really want to be able to showcase the whole property. And when someone is buying into an association, as you guys know, HOA fees are crazy these days. I mean, I like breathe a sigh of relief when they're $400 or less. A lot of these places are very high. So when people see that, they want to know, what am I getting for $500 a month with the association, you know? And when you're including all these other aspects, I mean, people come to New Hampshire and, you know, if they're coming from some states, they think our property taxes are not that high. Other places, they think it's high. An HOA fee is basically the same thing as a property tax when you think about it. It's something that is always going to be there and is more likely to go up than it's ever going to go down. Even if you have your property completely paid off, you are always going to be paying property taxes and you are always going to be paying HOA fees. So if you are going to sell something in an association and there are a lot of amenities at an open house, so my husband and I will tag team this a lot. One of us will stay at the unit, show the unit, and I'll say, awesome. Are you guys familiar with this association? And they'll say, oh yeah, you know, I'm here because my friend lives 2 doors down and I really want to buy here. And I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. So you're probably really familiar with the amenities. And if they are not, or they want an amenities tour, I say, okay, great. My husband Caleb is down at the clubhouse. I show them on a little map where he's going to be. I say he's going to take you around. If you want to go kind of have a little tour of the amenities, he'll kind of show you everything. And that has been a really great way for us to get people interested in a particular condo association, to have somebody do a quick amenities tour. Because obviously, if you're doing an open house, you're not going to leave the unit, you know, empty and, you know, unlocked while people are going through. If you're doing a private showing, you can lock up, close up, go take your buyers to see all the amenities. But I feel like that's something that can be very overlooked at an open house. If you have a place that has just really great amenity options and you aren't taking people by to see them, you don't want them to miss out on any of that. So yeah, I would say that's a big part of condos versus single family homes that I think can get a little bit lost. You're going to have some single family homes too that are very large. So if you're ever doing that, it's really great to have multiple people, especially if, you know, you've got like a huge pool in the back or the house is kind of broken up into different segments. Also, see, there was no spot in any of these slides, but things I think are important to talk about. Multifamilies or houses that have a tenant in it. Those are extra challenging to work with, especially if a property is tenant occupied. When that happens, I always have multiple people at the open house hosting. And if you've got a tenant occupied unit, I mean, it should be this way anyways. If you've got just a unit even that your seller owns or their house, I am always walking every person through each room. At an open house, I let people kind of walk through the house. I mean, you keep an eye on them, but I'm not like trailing them in every single room poking my head in. You got any more questions? And you guys have probably been to open houses like that where you just maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable and you're like, just give me a minute to take a look at some stuff.
Like a used car salesman.
Yes, yes. And I don't know. I just don't, that is not the way I want to be, approached or tailed when I'm at a property. Or if you guys are like just shopping retail, and it's one thing if someone greets you when you first come in, but if at every other clothing rack someone's asking you if can I help you find anything? Can I take your measurements? It's like, all right, calm down. I'm fine. Please just let me look. I do have different opinions if you're going to be taking people through a tenant occupied unit. I will literally bring the buyers through every room, because a lot of times the tenant is still there or their pets are still there. You don't have as much say on how that unit's going to look, unfortunately, because a lot of times tenants are not happy that a listing is being sold. And a lot of times with multifamily properties, the open house is the only time you can get people in to see those units. Just because of scheduling, you usually have to give tenants, like, it depends what's in their lease, but like 24 to 48 hour notice. So it's hard to even do last minute showings. So I think it's very important, if you're going to have a listing with multiple units, you need at least 2 agents there, maybe even more, to be able to properly bring people through. And also to be respectful of the tenants as well. And I always, we'll talk with tenants ahead of time, just say, hey, totally understand, like, is there anything in particular you want us to be very careful of, or, whatever else. I find too, a lot of tenants have cameras in their units, and they're not our clients. The tenants are not our clients. So it is very hard to make sure that those things are off. I'm also very careful about what is said. I mean, I'm careful about what's said anyways, but especially in those units, because a seller can sell their property. They have that right. But what exactly is going to happen to the tenant afterwards is going to be very specific to whatever's in their lease. People will often walk through the tenant's unit and then ask a lot of questions of, okay, well, is this tenant staying here? Is this a good tenant? How much are they paying every month? And they'll ask a lot of kind of maybe insensitive questions that, yes, you can give them some answers to, but I would probably advise you're very careful about what you say and do when you're walking through a tenant's unit. And tenants also tend to not, like, their pets will just be there and they won't really be secure. So I'd also be very careful and aware of that, not letting pets out. And also just making sure that you feel safe too. That's kind of a whole other thing that I could go into. If a tenant's not going to secure their dogs, but you don't feel comfortable with, dogs that are going to be more aggressive, and you don't know these pets, then maybe that's part of a tour that you're just not going to have at your open house. Sometimes, you might have to, unfortunately, have a unit or two that you just can't go in and see. And your safety is always more important than any lead or paycheck. Kind of going on random tangents here, but these open house things are maybe not in these slides. So in our preparing process, prospecting, greet everyone that comes in the door, engage in conversation, and be positive. So Jeffrey, I know that you've done a few open houses, and I know that you talked about specifically helping people sign in. So what are kind of like the conversations that you have with people to really make them feel comfortable when they're walking in the door and everything?
I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those weird people. I'll try to sell bark to a tree. Like, that's just my personality. Like, but I try to find something I can connect with them on. Like, a lot of times somebody will be wearing a Red Sox hat, or they'll have a polo on for a golf course, or, just I try to find something in me and be like, oh, hey, so you were in a Red Sox side, you watched the game last night? Like just something to kind of like break the ice so it doesn't seem, so transactional, I guess. And sometimes maybe too much, but I don't know. I try to find common ground with somebody, and just, find a talking point.
That's awesome. That is a really good quality to have, not just for open houses, but in general. I feel like that really helps open you up and not feel as salesy. I feel like a lot of agents come in and they're like, well, I really want to be in real estate, and I want to find these leads and talk to people, but I don't want to be salesy. And it's hard because we are salespeople. At the end of the day, we are, but it does come down to the relationships and just being a normal human being.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, try to just be open, be positive, like don't always try to ask a question to them, like about them first. It's just basic, you know, basic sales stuff, like get them to tell them about you first. 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason.
Exactly. Well, and that helps you in the future too, because I actually will sometimes take notes on people if I can at an open house. They'll come through, you're gonna have a ton of people come through and they'll, have their info written down. And when you come home and like recoup, I'm like, who was Matt and Mary? I don't remember which ones they are. And I'll do that sometimes and be like, oh, Red Sox hat, or had a question about this. Some kind of identifier that I can kind of quickly remember for them, because they're
Yeah,
gonna just get
that's
thrown in your database. Yeah.
that's the greatest thing about controlling your own sign-in sheet too. Like you can put a note right next to them right away. They'll never
Yeah.
see it again.
Yeah. And that's actually something I struggle with. And now that you mentioned, I don't know why it's taken me this long to think about that, or not, had to have you give me that idea to actually be the one to physically write their information down. But I was always like trying to sneak in small notes that didn't look offensive if somebody ever saw it somewhere, next to somebody's name.
Yeah.
Just for me to try to remember people. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm gonna have to actually do that so I can keep track of my people better. But yeah, really having that conversation with people when they come in the door, just being a normal person. Typically, what I do can be different for everybody. Someone walks in, have some kind of conversation. It can be the Red Sox hat. It can be, I usually like to, especially if it's a condo association, ask them if they're, local to the area, if they're familiar, are they a neighbor? Just kind of get a quick feel, just ask some kind of question to at least understand who they are. And they'll tell you. You can ask a very small question, they'll quickly say, oh yeah, my Aunt Susie lives right here, or oh, we've been looking in this association for a long time. And now you know that they've really been they're really a great lead. And you can point things out. Okay, well, awesome. This particular unit, most of the fireplaces are in the center of the room. This one is off to the side, which is really great. It opens up the space, which is very different than maybe some of these other ones that you've seen. Or, oh yeah, so you're probably very familiar with the amenities. They just updated the pool this past year, which is incredible. And they did that with money that they already had, built into the budget. And it's a great board of directors here. You can find ways to really talk with them. Or if it is a neighbor and they're like, oh yeah, well, I live next door and I just wanted to get an idea of how I could redo my house, or we're redoing our kitchen, wanted to see how they did theirs. That gives you that opportunity too to keep them as a possible lead. Maybe they are deciding, do we put money into our unit and redo it, or do we sell our unit and move somewhere else? Because we've had that a few times where it seems like they're kind of just looky-loo neighbors, but they are 50-50 on either we take money and put it into the house, or we sell and take all of that money and go up, like you were talking, Jeffrey, move to a bigger house or a bigger condo unit. So having those engaging conversations in the beginning and not just being someone sitting there on your phone. I will say that that is something that I do struggle with sometimes with open houses, especially if they're slow in the beginning. You know, you don't want to be doing nothing. You don't want to just be wasting your time. So if you've got your phone or your computer and you're able to get some emails done, you're able to be checking the MLS, the market, getting back to different clients. But first and foremost, you want to be present with the people there. So you want to always feel approachable and being there present with the people that are coming through and making them feel like they're important. It's always surprising to me the random people that will reach out, you know, sometimes even like months later that said, "Oh, I met you at an open house and, you know, just wanted to know if you have anything else coming up in the area or may not even be related to that property." If you make them feel like a real person, they're, you know, that can help you stand out from other agents that they might be meeting at other open houses when they're actually looking for someone to represent them. Providing value. So we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I think on here they do mention knowing your market stats, your team stats. That's really good to have, especially if you are a newer agent. It's awesome to be able to, you know, if people say, "Oh, how long have you been in real estate?" Rather than saying, "Oh, I've been in real estate for 3 months," you can say, "Oh yeah, you know, our team's been with Keller Williams for 10 years," or, you know, "My brokerage is the largest brokerage in New Hampshire." Being able to jump on those stats is a great way if you don't really want to tell people that you're a brand new agent.
That's exactly what I do. I basically frame it like all six of us work together. Like we're a team. We're not an individual agent. Like I don't even give them an option to think, "Oh, this guy hasn't been doing it in a while." It's just like, yeah, we all work together. When you get one, you get all five of us.
And that is an awesome thing to do. My husband and I have actually been using that the last year that we've both been agents. And we say, yeah, you know, now my husband and I, we are also on a team, but both of us are both on the team. Our team has like 9 agents on it right now, I believe. And we say, well, you get 2 of us for the price of 1.
Who are
You
you
know,
with?
we are on Rockstar Lux. So
Oh,
that's
nice. Okay.
Yep, Julie Chin's team.
Yeah.
She is over in Ossipee, Conway area, and we are all kind of spread out throughout the state. So some teams are going to be a lot more focused together. Our team, we kind of are specifically spread everywhere. So we cover the Lakes region portion. And then we have another agent that does like the Vermont border. So if you ever want Claremont passed off to somebody else, I have a name. I don't want it, but I can give you someone
Someday I'll get
else's
there.
name. And then we have someone like a couple people on the Maine border, another person over in between like Conway and Lakes region. So, but yeah, so being able to jump on either your team stats or if you're an individual agent, like I said, just the brokerage in general. We are the largest brokerage in New Hampshire. For I think, which one of you said that you were in Maine, Chelsea or Candace? One of you was licensed only in Maine?
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm Maine. I'm Maine only
Yes.
right now.
I don't know for the largest brokerage in Maine. We're probably not because we're only in the southern portion of the state. But I don't know the Maine stats, so I can't give them to you. But I'm sure if you asked him or Lindsay or someone else, they'll be able to give you a really good cheat thing to be able to use of something that you can say with, you know, I mean, we are one of the larger brokerages, especially in York County. I think you could do that. You could say that we're like the highest volume working brokerage in York County. Let's see. Because that was something I was always worried about in the beginning. Because I'm like, why is someone going to buy real estate from me when I've been doing this for 4 months and I haven't bought a house myself? I have since bought a house myself, which is very eye-opening.
Yeah.
Being on the buyer side, understanding what poor buyers go through sometimes. So that was a great learning experience. All right, capturing information, qualifying leads. So we talked a little bit about this, and I have learned something from Jeffrey here on better ways to do sign-in sheets. You can and should be using command to put people in. I think there might be a way that you can use the command app to do open house sign-in. I personally struggle. I like to think I'm actually pretty decent with technology. I do struggle with getting people to do stuff digitally, but maybe that's another option instead of having someone try to messily write their handwriting on a sign-in sheet. At least if you do it digitally, it'll be legible. Still sometimes can probably mess up a little bit on there, but that's something that I'm actually kind of trying to look into to see if there's a better
You could always use
digital
like a
option.
QR code too, and like, but then they may or may not fill it out.
Yeah. At least now people are a little more familiar with QR codes. I felt like I struggled in the beginning of COVID. People weren't used to QR codes, but then when all the menus at restaurants became QR codes, seemed like every generation had kind of started to figure it out by then. So,
Yep.
Yeah, that is a nice option. Whoops. And then pursuing follow up and convert leads after the open houses. I think it's very important that when you get home, I mean, eat lunch, whatever you need to do, but you need to follow up with everybody the day of and then the next day. If you don't follow up the people at the open houses right away, you are going to lose them. You're going to forget who's who. I know database updating is not fun, and I think all of us, even at our best of times, can do better with our databases. I am raising my own hand. I find if I don't get my open house leads into my database that day, it does not happen. The sheet gets lost. And a lot of times you're just printing off a basic open house sheet and you don't even have the address on there. So I'll find my open house sheet later and I'm looking at all these names and I'm going, I don't know which property the sheet went to. Like, I just have random buyers in their emails and I have to sit there and think, okay, was this at the $700,000 condo or the $250,000, small single family house? I have no idea what category to put these buyers in. So make sure you are updating your database, following up with all the attendees. So an important note in the attendees portion, when you're doing follow-ups, if you should have a section on your open house sign-in sheet that asking if they have an agent. If they have an agent, you should be reaching out to the agent. I think technically if they are signed with an agent and you reach out to them knowing they have an agent, that you can get in a lot of trouble for that. And the nice thing about an agent is typically, even if the information is written down wrong, an agent is usually, you can find their email or their phone number somewhere online. So, and when I reach out to agents, I will say, hi, so-and-so, just reaching out because your client, this person, came to my open house today at 123 Main Street. Just want to follow up and see if they have any further questions or interest in the property. And surprisingly enough, I have buyers all the time go to open houses. And I almost never receive those follow-up texts or emails. And that shocks me because I do that for all of our open houses and I know I have a lot of leads go. So that's telling me one of possibly two things. One, agents are not doing that. They are not following up with leads when they come through open houses. And that is a really great capture opportunity for you to be able to actually keep these leads. If they're going to other open houses, people are probably not following up with them well. Or I am not doing a good job with my buyers when I send them to open houses and they are not putting my name down on sheets or leaving my card or however I want them to be contacted. So and have to look at it both ways. So also, if your buyers are going to open houses, make sure that you are, protected and you don't lose them. As buyers, I would follow up with them right away. If you know a buyer is going to an open house and you can't go with them, I put it in my phone. I mean, my calendar is crazy looking with the way that I have all of our things scheduled out. But I will even put in my calendar, if I know that I have buyers going to open houses and I'm not going with them, I put it in my calendar. I color code it in a way that I know it's not an event I'm going to, but it's an event that is happening and I want to follow up with those people. So I say right after the open house, I text my clients and just say, hey, quick update. How was the open house? Is this something that you want to write an offer on? Do you want more information? Just to make sure that they don't get lost in the ether, or especially if they're a client that you kind of just started working with and you're like slightly nervous about their agent loyalty to you, to not lose them that way. All right. Might be getting close to the end of the slide deck here. Open house handbook. I personally am not even familiar with this, so I need to probably scan this and take a look at it. I think Tim was talking about this at the beginning of the meeting here. That's the great thing about Keller Williams, is they have so many different options. Yeah, this is a 30-page workbook. Awesome. Yeah, I'll have to scroll through that a little later. But definitely take advantage of all of these different resources that Keller Williams provides. And if you are overwhelmed and you don't know what to start with, you can always reach out to, some of the other agents, especially an agent that you're hosting for, or even just someone within like the admin department at Keller Williams, and they can kind of help you find which things would be really great to use. All right, I've been talking a lot more than I normally talk. So I don't know if anyone else has some ahas, or maybe you've got even questions about open house, or maybe just something that didn't get touched on in here, little ideas, things you've done. Take it away. Get rid of my pop-ups here. So for those of you that have had really good, successful open houses, like a ton of people coming through, what were ways that you kind of tried to manage a large amount of people coming through and really talking with all of them, or making sure that you didn't miss anybody?
I mean, I'll go. Like, I guess my team, we try to have 2 people no matter what, always. Sometimes it doesn't work, but that's the goal. But like on the really busy ones, just kind of divide and conquer. And like, if you miss someone, just say, hey, did you get them? No. Okay, cool. And then you just go over and say, hey, listen, I don't think we got your contact info, blah, 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 blah. Do you mind signing in? Like, just having 2 sets of eyes so you make sure that you don't miss anybody is definitely helpful.
Mm-hmm. And then when you have open houses that don't have a lot of activity, or you have let's say you have nobody come through, or just one person come through, I think that's a really great time to evaluate and follow up with your seller. So I know some of you guys are going to be hosting open houses that you're not representing, you're just working for another agent, or maybe you are and it's your own open house and you've got a seller. So this would either apply to, you let the listing agent know, I only had one person come through and here was some of the feedback. Or if it's your seller, I find this is a really good time to go, hey, we had the open house today. Nobody showed up, or we had 2 groups come through. They, don't seem interested. I think this is a good time to start talking about a price adjustment, or, it's not always price adjustment, but usually it is. If nobody comes, either it's priced too high, or you did not do a good job marketing and people didn't know about the open house. So obviously you're gonna have to do marketing the way you need to, which one of the most important things is making sure that it gets on the MLS and syndicated to realtor.com, Zillow. As much as some of us might hate some of these competitors, that's where the buyers are looking for the open houses. I mean, you guys probably all get inundated with emails from other brokerages and agents with new listing, open house this, and I don't open those. I get so many, like they just go unread or immediately to my, delete, unless I see it in a town or there's something in a, price range really fast. I'm like, oh, I have someone for that. I might open it. But typically I'm finding the open houses either on the MLS for my clients or even on an easier front facing buyer consumer app of choice, whatever that is. Redfin, homes.com, realtor. That's where people are looking for the open houses. So I think it's very important that they're marketed on there in two ways. One, I think it's important to have the open house in your public remarks, and also as that separate line item in the MLS, which will pop up as an open house like widget on the different MLS syndication sites. Because a lot of those you can just immediately add it to your calendar, and that makes it easy. And when you do it that way, anybody that has liked a property or favorited a property on the MLS, on the Collab Center, or on Zillow, then they get an email when a new open house is scheduled. So that is one of the most important ways. Also, along with posting, social media, marketing, whatever ways you need to do. So if after all is said and done, you have marketed the property correctly and your open house is a bust or has a very poor turnout, that is a good time then to talk with the seller and say, hey, something needs to change. This is what we did for marketing. So it's probably time to talk about a price adjustment. Also, Tim talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the meeting, but if you want to host an open house for somebody, let's say that they're posting on the Keller Williams page and they say, hey, I really need someone to host an open house. You go and look at the property, you see it's 30 days on market. You see there is no price change. And this agent is not going to host their own open house because it's a quote unquote waste of their time and they want someone else to do it. I personally would not host that open house because I think that's going to be a waste of my time. Nothing's changed. It's overpriced. You're not marketing this property. I'm not going to go waste it. It's going to be at least 3 hours of your time. 2 hours there, half an hour setup, half an hour, tear down, wrap up, and not to mention the drive time. Now, I think it's worth your time. If it's a new listing, you'll have you should have people come through the open house. If it's marketed well, you should have people come through. Or if you're going to host an open house for somebody, whether it's hosting for them or it's your own listing, if it has a longer day on market, the only time that I think it's worth hosting the open house is if there is a major price adjustment and it's actually priced now where it should be. Because as you guys know, with stale listings, people aren't really not, breaking down the door to come to the property. So people are probably not going to do that for the open house either. If they are going to do a price drop, I think the best strategy, and I'm actually doing this right now with one of my listings that we're going to be doing an open house here soon. It's been on the market a little bit longer and it does need a price adjustment. I am going to get the open house posted on there on the MLS. So that's going to syndicate to all the sites, and I'm going to drop the price on the listing at the same time. So when I update the listing with the new price, there's already an open house advertised for the weekend. So that way, anybody that now sees this property is fresh, you know, however they source their property information, it is going to show up for people that have maybe saved it, favorited it, or now it drops into a price bracket for different buyers that didn't see it before because it was, maybe higher than what they needed. With a price adjustment, you are getting new sets of eyes on the property. And to have that open house already advertised, I think is important. Otherwise, you're going to have a stale property with an open house advertised. Nobody's going to come through. And that personally, to me, would be a waste of my time. I did that a few times for people when I was a newer agent, and I didn't really know that I was going to be wasting my time. So just some kind of thoughts there.
What's your take on just like going to open houses on your own? Like this is something I do. Like I try to go to at least one a week, just like drop in and check it out, even though I don't have anybody interested in the property, just to try and get an idea on how other people do it and what kind of property, it looks like, what the houses look like inside in those neighborhoods, etc.
I was thinking
I
about
think it's a-
doing that too, but I thought it would be weird to show up by myself as, I don't know, is that, it's not weird? I can do that?
I do it, but yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, think about it. Like, you're not wasting anybody's time. The agent was going to be there. So I think that is a perfect time. And I also think it's great too to, like, if you have buyers or leads or anybody else too, that even if they're not pre-qualified or pre-approved, it's no waste of anybody's time to send them to an open house. You can say, go ahead and look at properties. That's fine. While you're waiting to get a pre-approval, like I don't mind. I don't like to take people in to a property on a private showing if they're not pre-approved, because again, waste my time, waste the seller's time to get their house ready. But absolutely go look at open houses. I think it's a really good excuse. I mean, you're driving around on Saturday and, you don't have lunch plans, just go find a nice open house over on the coast that's giving you lobster rolls. Why not? But I mean, you make connections that way too. Now, I mean, I wouldn't be handing out my card, at an open
Yeah.
house that's not mine, obviously. But
Well, I
why
wouldn't do
not?
that, but.
People do it though. You'd be surprised, unfortunately. But especially as I've done it before with properties that, especially if they're just in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
because even I'm curious sometimes, like I want to see what this house looks like. Why not? And it's good research, similar to how, like, if Jeffrey, you were talking about taking bold and some other classes. How are you, like, you think about how you train for other jobs, or if you've taken like college classes, you study, you do things ahead of time, and the best way to just learn more is to just do it. An open house is literally not a waste of anybody's time, because if you just wanted to go see a house and set up a private showing just because you're curious and nosy, even that's not necessarily wrong, but I feel a little bad then, just because I'm just wasting someone's time. If it's on a lockbox and it's just me going, sometimes I do that too, because I'm like, well, I might think I even have some fringe buyers that might be interested, or my husband and I, we invest in real estate too. So sometimes we'll go and look at properties and kind of see if they're going to be a good deal or not. Open houses, absolutely just go. And as a matter of fact, I mean, you never know, because now you've seen this property. If you're doing it in an area that you work, you're going to have other buyers come through that, through you and your brokerage, that you might be like, oh, I just saw this property the other day. It might be perfect for you. Yeah. And
Do I announce myself
I don't
as an
think-
agent? Like, I didn't want to be awkward. Do I walk in and just look around and don't say anything, or walk and say, hi, I'm Candy, I'm with Keller Williams, Coastal Lakes and Mountains, blah, blah, blah. And I was afraid to just be awkward. I didn't know if I should say, I don't know. That's why I
think it's a
haven't,
good-
because I didn't want to, I don't know.
I also think it's a good chance to like introduce yourself to another agent. I guess that's how I see it. Like, you never know when you're going to do business with them in the past. And if they're having a slow day and you show up and you just have a chat with them, like you can build a relationship that way too.
Yeah,
That's what I was
absolutely.
looking for, but I didn't want to intrude or be weird or awkward or feel like I was like stepping on anybody's toes or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would say that when I go, I tell them that I'm an agent, mostly because you're probably going to be prompted to sign in, right? And so I would say, okay, yeah, I'll definitely sign in. I am an agent, though. I'm just kind of like taking a look because I have, buyers that are interested in the area or community. Or you can literally just say, I just wanted to come see the house, saw it listed, was really curious about it. Like I said, there's really nothing wrong with it at all because you're not wasting anyone's time. They were going to be there anyways. And when I'm hosting an open house, I've had agents come through and I don't mind. I'm totally fine with that. And again, like, Jeffrey was saying, you're going to get to meet agents, local agents in the area, and you never know. They could, especially if they're not from our brokerage, a lot of other agents don't have the support, camaraderie, and referral circle that we have. It's very easy for us to just post on our Facebook group that, hey, we need help with open houses. But a lot of these other people don't have that, and they have to do them themselves. So if they see you, or they see you, more than once, that could be a possible relationship you could have with another agent, like, Coldwell Banker or like the Real Brokerage and EXP. They're still going to be our co-brokes. You can have these other opportunities to be able to possibly help host their open houses.
Okay. I work with a guy. I work in Newburyport, but I live in Kittery, and I work with a fellow agent that works for Coldwell Banker down in Mass, and he's doing an open house, I think, in Tewksbury next week, and he said if I wanted to drive down to see how he does it, that I could come and check it out. So I might go do that, and that would be my first open house ever. I've never actually even been to one. I've never thrown one. But I was on vacation over the summer. It was not vacation because we were here, but we were visiting some friends from family from New Mexico that was Airbnb in Wells for a week. So we were right on Ocean Ave, we were right on the water. And we were on the beach, and I was sitting there on the beach, and I saw there was an open house for this beautiful, cute little oceanfront cabin. And they were doing wine in there. There was two ladies in there, and they looked like they were having a great time. And my husband's like, you should go up there and introduce yourself. And I was like, no. And this is when I had just gotten licensed. I didn't even talk to anybody. It was in the end of June, so I really just didn't feel comfortable at all. And she's just go up there and meet them. And I said, no, but they look like they're having a great time at their Oceanside open house. So I was hoping, that I could do something like that someday that looked like it was fun, but I don't know the rules on like bringing wine and stuff. I'm a bartender, so I could definitely do something like that. But yeah, I work for Tuscan, and my husband is the culinary controller for Tuscan as well. And he's like, well, I'll just give you Tuscan charcuterie boards to take to your open houses. I was like, that sounds great.
That's
So I'm
incredible.
hoping that
I'll come to your
I'll get
open
there.
houses.
Yeah. He's like, every time you're doing one, just let me know and I'll make you a little platter and bring it home and you can have it for your open house. It's like, that would be awesome. So hopefully, we'll get there. Wine and charcuterie board open houses.
That,
Compete
yeah,
with the lobster roll
incredible.
people.
Oh, I love it. No, absolutely. Go and do that at that open house and that other agent message, and that'd be a great opportunity because you also get to learn
Yeah.
how different agents do it, and everyone's different. And like I said, I even, I'm learning some good ideas from Jeffrey too on how they do theirs and things that I want to change and implement in the way I do it. So I think that you can always be learning from, someone. But I feel you. I feel you on the kind of like, oh, I don't, it when you first get licensed and you don't know if you want to go to an open house or not, or you almost, I always felt like I was like in the way or a bother, and I'm really not. I'm like, the best way for me to learn is by actually going and doing things. It's really kind of random, but in my journey in real estate, I didn't do much my first year, and I really should have been that first year agent dropout statistic. I should have. But I had a really good mentor at the time, and she told me, because I was really nervous about doing like phone calls, and I really am an introvert at the end of the day. My husband is way better at talking with people than I am. So I tend to do a lot more on the paperwork side, and I like get him to like, here, you capture all the leads, you talk with all the buyers and stuff. You're really good at that and keeping them, involved. And but my mentor told me that I just had to, she said, just get over it. Whatever it is, if you're nervous about, talking with people, if you're nervous about just kind of like showing up at an open house, just get over it. Because at the end of the day, we think way harder about it than anybody else does. I actually have like on my board over here, I have this little sticky note. I mean, it's probably gonna be backwards for you guys, but I wrote it down. This is a 4-year-old sticky note, but I keep it up here because she told me in a conversation, it was getting close to November, because as you guys all know, when you hit the end of the year is when you have the nice big, all right, it's going to be $600 to renew your license. And when you haven't done much yet, it's kind of scary. You're thinking, okay, do I renew my license and try for another year, or do I just try to do something else? It can be a bit discouraging when you're not sure. Like, there's a lot in the beginning that you're just really trying to work through and figure out with real estate. So yeah. So she said, do you want this to be a hobby or do you want this to be your career? I'm like, well, I really want it to be my career. She's like, well, you're going to have to just get over it and treat it like a career then. And when you think about people, other businesses, they just do the work, whatever that is. And honestly, just showing up at an open house, like that's actually fun. I feel like those are like way more fun than, the other prospecting and lead sources and just going and talking with other agents. I think that's an incredible way to do it. And also an oceanfront open house, that'd be like way more fun than some of the ones I have to do.
It was right on the beach. Like they were having a blast, and we were on, visiting our friends. We stayed out there at that beautiful spot they had for 2 days. And I was in my bathing suit and I was drinking. I was like, I just don't think I should go over there. He's like, no, you should. I was like, no, I'm just gonna watch. But I was like, wow, it looks like it could be fun. And I watched people, because we were on the beach for a while. I watched people go in and out of that open house, and it looked like they had a good one. I didn't see which brokerage it was, or maybe I glanced at the sign. I don't remember, but I remember it wasn't Keller Williams. It's like, if it was Keller Williams, I probably would have stopped in. But I didn't want to, I don't know, I didn't want to intrude and come into my bathing suit and be like, hey, I'm an agent. I really wanted to, though. I did. I wanted to, but I didn't feel like I should at that point. But it made me excited for, for the future and doing that myself. And I was like, cool, I want to do that. That's exactly what I want to be doing, is doing open houses by the beach with a little bit of wine and selling houses. Looks great. Can't wait.
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time you see one, go in. And that also is like great idea for you for when you get to actually host or do one another time. So
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And a good option to also, and I'm sure that any of the mentors that you've talked with at Keller Williams have mentioned it. If you guys are looking for the lead opportunities, you don't have to just wait for someone to post on the Keller Williams Facebook page about needing help with open houses. Just volunteer. Say, hey, I'm available this weekend to help with open houses. Here's the area I work in. Would love to help you. People will reach out, or they'll tag you when they see you. Someone else ask for help. So
is that the Keller Williams Coastal page, or is that like a regular? That's our page?
The group. Are you part of the private Keller Williams Facebook group?
I think you need to get added to it.
Oh, really? I don't know if I'm in that.
Reach out to the marketplace person. They could probably add you.
Yeah,
I can make sure you're added, Candace.
I'm gonna go to another contracts class, but thank you.
Yes, actually, this is New Hampshire contracts, I think, right now, and all partners is in a little bit. So I don't think there's too much more in here anyways. Yeah, it's kind of the stuff that you go through at the end of all of these. So, but it was really great to meet all of you guys. You see me around, or Caleb, definitely, chat. If you find me on Facebook, you can add me. I don't know if I can throw my contact info in here really quick. If you guys want to ever reach out or have questions, feel free. Let's see. Like I said, I know sometimes there's questions you might have. If you don't have a broker around, then you can just feel free to, ask me a quick question. I've been there. So if I don't know the answer, I know who to get the answer from. There's my contact info if any of you guys want it. So
Cool, thank you.
of course, usually I come to the All Partners meetings. We always do for the Meredith ones. I will not be there today for the Portsmouth one just because I was teaching this class and we have some other stuff. But I do hope to kind of be around again whenever the next one is. So anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. And it was good to meet you guys.
Likewise, thanks.
Yeah,
Great
thank
class.
you so much.
That was
Yep.
awesome.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.